Let's call this meeting to order. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Foley,
Present.
trustee Lappin,
Here.
clerk Palovich here, treasurer Ellery Summers.
Here.
Trustee Kroll,
Here.
trustee Reiner.
Here.
Supervisor Skibby.
Here. Moving forward to the adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions, corrections to the agenda as presented? Yes, Laura.
I would just like to add to the agenda. I'd like the board to make a motion to require 2 signatures on all contracts, agreements, leases, etc.
So would you like to put that at the end before department reports?
Sure.
Before or after?
Before department reports.
Signatures on contracts.
Sure.
Yeah. Are there any other corrections, additions, substitutions to the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the amended agenda as presented.
Make that motion.
A motion on the table to adopt the amended agenda. Is there support?
Support.
Was it Lappin?
We have a motion and support. Further discussion on the adoption of the agenda. Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the amended agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose the same. Okay, this is the first opportunity for public comment. If there's any members of the public in person or online, if you're online, please use the bottom taskbar to raise your hand or send a text. And if you're in person, just stand to the podium and state your name for the record. Seeing and hearing no public comment at this point, we'll move forward to the payment of the bills. Is there a motion to make payment of bills?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion on the table. Is there support? I'll support it. It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner,
Yes.
trustee Foley,
Yes.
trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward to the minutes of both November 22nd, which was a regular scheduled meeting, and November 30th, a special meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of both meetings?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion on the table to approve the minutes of both meetings. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of November 22nd and November 30th signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose the same. Into correspondence, we have a notice of hearing under Alpena Power Company, Planning Commission minutes in regards to ordinance 148, a new business item, and then also the CRTC's community outreach for an update to the PFAS concerns stemming from the base. I'll entertain a motion to receive and file the correspondence as presented.
So moved.
There's a motion on the table and support. Further discussion to the correspondence. I will add to item C under correspondence to the CRC. That is an online forum and something that I would implore trustees to investigate on their own and take a look at. All those in favor of receiving and filing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose the same. Correspondence has been received and filed. Old business. Michelle, did you want to just touch on
Yeah, I
this?
can touch on this. We voted on renewing our antivirus software last time. We were gonna do it for 3 years and get the 3rd year for half price. So I signed all the paperwork, sent it to 1010. They came back and told me that that offer was not available for us. So this is the new proposal. It is a little bit higher, which is why we're here. We do save a little bit on the 2nd and 3rd year.
And what is the difference in terms of total cost between the previous motion? and-
360.
350 figured it out.
About
Yeah.
360.
This is about 300 more, which is why we're back here, because The board only approved.
And why was their offer, may I ask, not available to us if they made an offer?
It was not available from the manufacturer to existing customers.
Totally expected.
Yes, Laura.
So the original motion was for 3 years.
Yes.
Is this for 3 years? Because it
Yes.
says a 1-year license and a year renewal.
1-year license is 8/14.
Oh, I see the bottom
If
one.
we go
Okay,
2
73304.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So we save a little bit on the second year and even a little bit more on the third year.
Do we know if there's any other vendors that do this, or is it just prudent to stay with the same
I think when
antivirus?
we ran into those technical difficulties and we're on the phone with the FBI and all that, they were very impressed with,
Okay,
Our system.
I would support the
Okay.
motion to remain right where we're at, especially with all the moving pieces, what we have with the Fortinet firewall and the Avast and how they're already married. The potential unknowns and
Yeah.
disruption to the system, going to another vendor may have a lot of unforeseen
yeah,
complexity.
yeah, that's why I just asked the question, because it, we run into those sorts of things where you just find all these issues that pop up after you make the deal. So I would make the motion to move forward with the revised quote from
I'll-
1010
I'll
Technologies.
support that.
We have a motion and support on the table to move forward with the corrected 3-year invoice. Is there further discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Roll call, please.
Trustee Reiner.
Yeah.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
trustee Lappin.
Yes,
Clerk Flavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes,
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving into new business, budget adjustments. I think there's 3 or 4.
There's like 3 pages.
Yeah.
They're separated by.
Different by fund.
They're getting less each
Yep.
meeting.
Yeah. Sweet stuff. At this point in time, the budget adjustments are in the same format that Michelle and put together and breaking out between water fund, public safety fund, and general fund. Presented. I'd entertain a motion to move forward with the budget amendments as presented.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion on the table to move forward with the budget adjustments as presented. Is there support?
Yes.
Support by trustee Reinhardt. Further discussion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So what it looks like is you're moving. I had these marked before and I lost the markings, but what it looks like is you're changing from one line item where there's an excess to other line
Right.
items that you're gonna fall short of
Right.
on between now and the end of the year.
And trying to truly encapsulate them even within the department, not even in just general fund, water fund, and public safety, but if it's
Well, some we do with
some
data
we did,
processing.
but that's an overlay.
Right.
But when there's a possibility even within singular departments, those adjustments and those maneuvers happen within a single.
Within the department.
Correct.
Yeah, I would hope so, yeah. Yeah, I would expect that unless we're otherwise informed.
Yes. Any other discussion?
does this seem like, Michelle, or whomever, does this seem like reasonable adjustment so that as we look forward?
We're trying to look forward, see if it's a monthly bill.
Yeah,
And so the last round of adjustments were kind of the forecasting. These are just some of
Little tweaking.
the
it a
little
little more.
tweaks
Yeah.
to kind of fine tune it.
no, I see that there's some things that are just data processing, is just one of those things where we'll probably never get it right.
Yeah, that's why it's a good thing that it's a living document.
Yeah.
If there's no, yes, trustee Reiner, did you have your hand?
No, I didn't. I was just smiling about living document.
That's better than a dead one. With that being said, roll call, please.
Trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Lappin.
Yes,
Clerk Flavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward in the agenda to the snow plowing bids. We received back 3 or 4
Three,
different
they're all-
quotes, yeah. Some, Some propose their quote based on hourly, some by site.
Oh, man.
And so it's,
And then there's a question on the Goodrich one. It's,
They didn't bid
They
the-
didn't bid out the north station or the township or the south station.
yeah,
No, the,
or loader use or,
right.
and also I wondered the amounts. It said each occurrence. Well, not a bad bid if it's each occurrence, but if it's each occurrence at each site. Then, because, so that's a question mark that I had. That's a big one. I mean, that's a big difference in. And it's somewhere between, difference between $140 per snowfall and $525.
I called Goodrich because I was, actually, I called all three of them because I was confused by each one of them. And it became much clearer with Goodrich when they said that they only bid every place except the township hall and the north and south station. And an occurrence, because I asked the same question, was once the snow gets to above that 2-inch mark, then we'll kind of do it again. And so it would be a fee per occurrence. And so, but it seemed to me as though that just put all the other bidders in a place where, why would we want to get 2 or 3 different snow plowing companies involved in this? So I sort of just thanked Bruce for his time. It was confusing to me on cut above. His hourly rate, by the way, does not include traveling from location to location. How he monitors that, I guess it's just on the trust basis. So it was hard to establish this, but it's from what I understand, Grasshopper currently does this. And do they come back, once they plow, do they come back with a different vehicle and salt it then? Or do they salt it all at the same
It's
time?
all done before.
they
we
usually
get here.
have it done. They have some of their trucks that have salt dispersal mechanisms in the
Okay.
bed. So typically if it's especially coming into the beginning of a week or an icy scenario, they usually do it all at once.
Plus they shovel.
Yep, and when they do the plowing here at the primary offices, they also shovel and salt sidewalk on top of it.
It kind of seemed like Grasshopper at the end of the day was probably going to be the better price, but I couldn't really tell.
It's hard to compare because one's hourly and one's per occurrence. So once again, when we do RFPs, I think we need to put out a template of how we want them. to do
Yeah,
that.
what I would recommend is that we literally give them a template to
That's
fill out.
what I think we need. to
How
do.
would, I mean, I know Goodrich is per occurrence. Per location is what it looks like,
Right.
but wouldn't that be the same for Grasshopper? So every time they,
Right.
right, so
Would be,
they're per
except,
occurrence as well.
Yeah, except for the fact that the Goodrich doesn't want to do the fire station or the north and south, or doesn't want to do the township hall or the north and south station. They only want to do the lift stations in the tower.
Yeah.
And so didn't seem very,
Well, and I can appreciate that because there's probably a less likelihood, especially with given hardened surfaces for damages. So that may be because all the other sites are still earthened and not,
could be.
so could be a rhyme or reason, but I leave it at the table.
I'm not sure we have enough information to be to make a decision, and we need to make a decision.
Yeah, I feel like we have
Hey,
to make a
well,
decision because it is snowing.
Because, yeah, Mother Nature's kind of saying it's upon us. So.
If I add up Grasshopper, I'm coming up with $935 per occurrence. Does that look right?
But they don't shovel every single time.
And I
do
don't
they?
think they salt every time, either,
No.
do they?
No.
And so that was their, it was, if it was just for snow plowing, it was $750. And by the way, the salt per ton at $50, that was a mistake. It should be $250 per ton, but they've never run into that problem before. Yeah, so yeah, it was confusing for sure.
Yeah, it
But
was
we utilize Grasshopper currently, right?
correct.
And
I
so
don't think we've complained. I have no complaints about grasshopper.
I think,
No.
I think what might, because Mother Nature is just going to be what she's going to be. And unless we can sort of relet this with with columns that say how much is this and this, and not per hour or something like that, then we're going to pretty much have to stick with who we currently have.
Would you like to make the motion?
I
to
will
that
make
effect?
that, I will make that motion.
We have a motion on the table to continue our contract with Grasshoppers for snow removal for the 21-22 season.
I'll support it.
We have a motion and support. Further discussion. I would add to, I mean, in the time that we've been utilizing Grasshoppers, I know I always keep a pretty close eye on the weather, even overnight hours. And we've had open communication at 4 a.m. and looking at anticipated snowfall and how to accomplish and keep our bypass safe. Principal structures being the fire department, north and south for ingress and egress. Anytime that there's any delay, I get a nice reminder from chief, and then make sure that that gets addressed in a timely manner. So they've been
Responsive.
very responsive thus far. So, roll call vote, please, if there's no other discussion.
Trustee Lappin,
Yes.
clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward to the PNC water savings account, Laura, would you like to address this matter?
I'm not sure why this had to come to the board exactly, but PNC required this. We just need to open up a water savings account at PNC. We used to have one and didn't utilize it, so I closed it a few years back. And now we have a need to have that savings account. So I will make the recommendation to authorize myself to open the water savings account at PNC with the same signers that are on the signature card as follows. Treasurer Laura Ellery Summers, Deputy Treasurer Rhonda Himes, Clerk Michelle Plavich, Deputy Clerk Haley Birmingham, and to also update the township's name from Alpena Township to the Charter Township of Alpena.
Is this a transfer type account? In other words, transfer to in and out of checking? Is that what you're
Right.
doing? And this is so excess monies will bear interest? Is that
Well,
how we-
not necessarily, no. We had received payment in advance for a water project,
Oh,
and we just wanted to keep that separate from,
okay. So it'll be a
commingled.
short term?
well, but it will just have the account if we need it. But for that type of a reason. So I made that motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to move forward with the creation of a new savings account at PNC. Is there support?
I'll support it.
Moved and supported. Further discussion at this point? Seeing none,
Yes, I'm
a
supportive.
roll call. That'll help them.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward to the next item of the Michigan Planning of, or Michigan Association of Planning workshop for capital improvement programs. Would like, would you like to?
Yeah, I can
take point
address
on this?
that. The township has a capital improvements program committee consisting of Michelle and Russ and Norm. And I've been assisting with that. And it's closely tied into the budget as far as want to have annually review and long-term planning for what type of capital improvements are a priority and what you need. And there are a lot of materials out there on the subject, but not a lot of consultants, not a lot of experienced persons locally. So in digging through the materials and working with the committee, we discovered that the Michigan Association of Planning provides a workshop for communities around the state. And I noticed a lot of good comments about it and get the big impression that it would be very helpful for the township. So I made contact with them and they're willing to do it either virtually or in person. And it'd be a real good start. The committee and I believe for getting us started in this since the township hasn't done it before. And we would like to have the process also involves the planning commission. It starts in the planning commission. So we'd like to combine it with
A joint
as
meeting.
many board members, township board members as possible, and as many planning commission members as possible to get us started and get us on the right page. And also then we'll be able to do this annually and learn the ropes. Didn't give me a real good idea of whether in person is way better than remote, but I'm guessing it probably would be, since it's going to be a workshop. We're going to break into groups and we'd have somebody that can hold our hand and walk us through it and help us decipher the materials. So for the planning commission and all the board members, the price would be $1,524.48. If we do it remotely, it'd be $1,180. Michelle and I would then start looking at calendars and working with this association and seeing what a convenient time of day and date would be for this workshop.
Tim,
Where
did
would it
they
be?
say like, is it a 4-hour workshop or a 2-hour?
Yeah, let me.
It was saying it was a full day.
Thought it was 3 hours.
Yeah, it was
First hour
several
and a half.
hours.
Yeah.
2.5, that's good. Fine. The workshop is about 2.5 hours long. About an hour is the presenter talking. Then the next 1.5 hours is a great hands-on exercise showing how to implement the CIP process introduced during the presentation.
Trustee Lappin, you had a question?
Where is it?
We have it here.
Here in Alpena. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
They would
she-
come,
she-
that's the difference,
Yeah,
three
that's the
hundred and
difference in price.
forty-five dollar
She-
difference in
she'd come
cost
here.
is the, whether they come here or whether we do it online.
Gotcha.
Laura,
Would it, I see they want to charge $30 for shipping and cost of handouts is $350. Is there any way they could just email the handouts and we could print them ourselves and maybe save some of that money?
We, yeah, I think it has to do with copyright
Copyright
probably,
infringement.
yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay.
because I did ask, is this based on per
Okay.
person? And yes, it is. Because Michelle raised that point that we can make extra handouts if we have to.
Right.
Copy them and so it's, and it may come down if we don't get everybody attending. We get,
Save a few.
yeah, so.
I'll make that motion to do the in-person.
Support.
okay, we have a motion and support
You
to
wanna
move
do it
forward
in
with
person?
the
Because of the
on-site.
breakout sections. Sorry.
We have a motion and support on the table to move forward with the on-site estimate of $1,524.48. And did you have a GL that you're looking at? The
I'm
professional
looking
and
at
contractual?
professional and contractual services for the Board of Trustees,
101, 801.
101, 101, 801. And there is enough money in that jail to cover it.
Through the end of the year, Michelle.
We currently have an available balance of $1,704.84.
No other trainings expected between now and April 5th?
We could be making another budget adjustment to put money in there. I don't know. I mean, we also paid the CPA out of that jail too.
Should be sufficient to get us. to
We have the
April 1,
audit paid for. and that's
Unless
okay.
we plan another training exercise. So we have a motion and support on the table. Any further discussion? Yes, trustee.
I just like to say, since you endowed me with the chair of this committee, that Tim has been invaluable in helping us move through this process and
Thank you.
try to get to a point where we can do this.
Get the pro bono level on Tim.
Well, I haven't hit that button.
We can pay him in compliment.
Yeah,
Please,
but I think all three of us on the committee are kind of like, well, what the heck do we do next? And so this, I think, is a starting point for us to know where to go. And obviously, part of what Tim has learned and informed us of is that typically planning commissions are part of this process. In fact, they're an early part of this process. So we need to invite and encourage them to be part of the training as well.
Most definitely.
Would there be any benefit to asking adjoining municipalities?
I contacted Matt Walagora, the mayor for the city, and he said he described theirs as a well-oiled machine at this point because they do it annually and they've been doing it for a long time. And he said that he did name some of the officials there who he encouraged me to contact and said when we're ready to do our own plan.
Yeah.
And sounded as if that'd be available as a guide. There are a lot online. If you Google capital improvement plans, Michigan municipality, you'll see Ann Arbor's, Traverse Cities. And so I think once we get through this workshop, we'll do ours and it'll just be part of your budgeting process.
Well, and that's kind of part, it ties in this whole CIP process is, I think I sent the email to the CIP committee that had some embedded webinars and links to the Munetrics software plan. I did one quick little online training with Munetrics. And if once we gather some steam, that may be something that we bring back because it's just plug and play and it rotates and it just takes care of so much of the administrative function.
Okay.
And that way annually it's updated and you can just, instead of having to recreate the wheel on an annual basis, it's in one format.
And I can't remember what the cost of that module was, but it was.
It would be, well, it's not singularly to the CIP, but it would be, I believe it would be a prorated increase of $3,500.
Per year?
So that would be, and that has been implemented on our website. I implore all trustees to look at our homepage and scroll to the bottom and click the live link of Munetrics. There's been, I'm trying to get more and more data in there, but we're one more thing that we're kind of coming into the 21st century with. So we have motion and support. Any other discussion?
The only other thing I'd address Steve's comment is if you think it's worthwhile, I think we could reach out. I mean, I through county clerk or whatever could reach out to the other township people and see if any of the other townships, the city apparently isn't interested or needful of this, but some of the other townships may be interested in trying to do this within theirs, and if they could share the cost with us, maybe.
Well, I remember years ago, I was on the city planning commission. And the first year of reviewing the capital improvement plan is always this, I don't know what I'm doing here. And so I got to believe that other municipalities, especially smaller townships, could benefit from something like this. But based upon the way you're talking about it, I wonder if it would be confusing if we do things one way and another municipality does things a different way. Would that create angst somewhere along the line? But I don't know. It's just a thought, and if it makes sense.
I can add one thought there is that the smaller townships don't have to do this. They don't have water or sewer. Cities and then townships that
Right.
have our infrastructure.
Trustee Polly.
Yeah, I believe Tim could answer that by quick phone call, whether they'd even recommend that, because if you're gonna have a program that we're gonna do a work thing together would be on our community, they'd have to have different communities.
Yeah.
But I think maybe a phone call might clear that up.
Yeah, and I think it's always nice to wherever possible include our neighboring municipalities.
Absolutely.
But in this instance, we may want to start ourselves out with a firm foundation before we get off track.
And I'm not sure how specific the training is going to get into our needs,
Yeah.
or if it's more general, so we'll see.
If there's no other discussion, roll call vote, please.
Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving into new business, item 5, the introduction of ordinance 148. Tim, would you like to?
That is a zoning ordinance amendment that we've done in the past. And so we're at the stage, it's gone through the planning commission. They had their public hearing. It then goes to the county planning commission. And they sent a letter back stating that they don't have any recommended changes and that they support the amendment. And so because we're a charter township, we need to introduce it first. So after we have discussion about exactly what's going on here, I'll ask for a motion to introduce the adoption of ordinance 148. I'll then get the notice published, and then at our December 27th meeting, then we'll
Adopt it.
consider it for final adoption.
And so some background to this ordinance 148 and the amendment therein is a case that has come before the planning commission, and that was at the current, which will now soon be the Starbucks medical office. We found a deficiency in zoning ordinance 142 where without any other recourse, there was not a method to allow for additional parking spaces greater than what our zoning asks. And it's just one of those, pretty much every amendment that's come out is you figure it out when you hit a case that defines its deficiencies, if you will. The intent of having a cap is understandable. There's been precedent in other communities where larger box stores have bought a plethora of primary road frontage and extended their parking lot so that no other businesses had the opportunity. So I understand its reasoning, but this allowed for a different avenue to look at with the amendment of, I think in that case, they were looking at an additional, I can't remember off the top of my head, it was like 11 parking spaces, which they had room to by our zoning ordinance. We just didn't afford them. The calculations based upon square foot of doctor's offices is where it kind of really confined their abilities. So this was a tip of the hat to allow businesses another avenue without having to go through an amendment or a special use to define the parking needs. So.
And this was done with Denise Klein's guidance from NEMCOG, your zoning planner.
Yep. So with that being said, I guess we could entertain a motion to introduce ordinance 148.
Motion to introduce ordinance 148.
Support. We have a motion and support on the table. Further discussion?
Does this have any impact on occupancy? So in other words, if you can have 50 people in the building, we've got a place for 75 spots to park. Does that create an issue?
It's occupancy falls under the Michigan Building Code.
Okay,
The calculation discrepancy in this instance was like, forget what it was. It was the deficiency of the 9 parking spots, because instead of looking at the doctor's office total square footage, it only accounted for and made a determination of parking spots based upon the square footage of the waiting room only.
okay.
Which, when you have as many employees that
Yeah.
size a lot,
Yeah.
what happens when you have the customers coming
Yeah.
in? So this was the happy medium and giving the planning commission that flexibility
All right.
without having to impede development.
So then my next question would be, this might be a little bit unique in that there's going to be a retail establishment in that same building. Is that in addition, is that separate parking for like a Starbucks and then a separate parking number for the dental office?
That's how the planning commission and zoning ordinance 142 looks at it.
Okay.
Is what are its uses? How are those parking calculations made?
Gotcha.
And really, the largest detriment was to the doctor's office in ordinance 142, based upon solely the square footage of the waiting room and
Okay.
not the entire facility. Nor did it take into comprehension how many employees
Gotcha.
that place may have. So we have a motion and support on the table. Any other discussion? Not, I'll entertain a roll call vote on.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner,
Yes.
trustee Foley,
Yes.
trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward into the 2021 road project invoice from Alpena County Road Commission. Every year when we kind of approve, and Michelle and I had spoke about this away from the table, is in future years, maybe we initially passed the motion not to exceed, because as it's always presented us from the road commission, these are always estimates until the project is finalized. Some may be a little higher by project, some may be a little lower. So in this instance, obviously, as you see Michelle's note, we approved what was presented to us as a final figure of 106,243 in our April meeting. The real end total was $111,403.16. So I'd entertain a motion to make payment of our road project invoice for 2021 of $111,403.16 to come out of the same GL highways, bridges and roads. I think it's.
Mhm.
Do we have to adjust the budget to make this happen?
Nope, no, there's already adequate money in that. It was just the difference between acknowledging the fact that these are estimates coming in. And so maybe in future years, that's how we should probably look at it and just make note of the fact that it is an estimate so that we don't have to potentially come back and address this upon finalization. So yes, trustee Reiner.
This is a $5,000 difference, but plus some, but what if it's 50,000? I mean, how do we,
I think if it's 50,000, it's gonna come back to the board.
If
do we
it's
put that?
50,000, it would have to also go to the road commission board.
somebody would,
Yeah,
that's why what I'm wondering is, I mean, trying to budget here and, how much are we at the mercy of another entity? If it becomes a bigger number, it could really mess us up. I know, I don't know how to fix that except
yeah,
to.
and that's, then we would hold the course as is. We would approve them as the estimates at the beginning of the year,
Reduce the
knowing
number of
that-
road projects
knowing
we
that-
do the next year.
knowing the fact that we're gonna be coming back upon an estimate to either a higher figure or a lesser figure. So I'll entertain a motion to make payment of $111,403.16 to Alpena County Road Commission.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion on the table. Is there
I'll
support?
support.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion. This year, as you see, we really actually focused our allotment and utilization of the 50-50 match of up to, I believe, the $110,670. So that's a 50-50 match. So we utilize that, but the primary utilization of all the monies were for seal coat projects, because in last year's budget, we cut out seal coat projects. So the primary focus this year
Would
was,
that have been Truckee Road?
no, that's, you talking about that bumpy dusty thing?
Yeah.
Okay, well, no, I'm not, but that would be dust control. So we had dust control and then also seal coats. So we did seal coats. Mr. Trustee Reinhardt, you should be well aware because I believe your road was, was it
done
this
last
year or was it last year?
Last year, I think.
Last year that we did that one. So that's the seal coat project. That is a discussion that we've had with Ryan Breggy and the Road Commission is as we have various discussions, whether it be in the fire department, looking at the potentials of millages moving forward. Roads are another millage that are going to be entertained. Because as it stands, I think we're roughly by average standard of Alpena County Road Commission road conditions, just shy of $6 million.
I thought we hit 6 million.
We probably are now with inflation, safely $6 million behind average. So even as much as we try to extrapolate out of the general fund for roads, we will never get caught up. So that will be a forthcoming conversation that we have as a board as to the potentials of freeing up capital within the operating budget of the general fund and potentially, hopefully securing an actual road millage that we can actually bring our community's roads up to spec. So we have motion and support. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Plavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Okay, moving forward to the rescue vehicles. Chief and Terry, you're both here. I guess if you'd both like to stand to the podium for the potentials of answering questions, it'd be helpful.
Good afternoon, Mark Hanson, Fire Chief. And Terry King, Dean Arbor Ford.
Yes, so this is a continuation coming out of fire committee and even pre-fire committee upon the sale of the first Tango unit. The allocation of said monies would be best served to fulfill that need in a cost-effective means of smaller rescue vehicles, and at that, there's your segment.
Well, as you can see in your board packet there, there was a proposal from Dean Arbor Ford after the committee has met several times discussing this option. We had some other companies in town that we solicited bids from. We were not successful receiving bids back from them. Dean Arbor Ford is the only one that came through with the bid process for us. With Terry's help, and the committee, we've looked at every option that we can think of that we're going to need on these particular vehicles. And we believe we have everything. I don't think there's anything we've overlooked at this point, right down to the putting our old radios from other vehicles into the vehicles that we're going to currently get, or we're going to hopefully get. So as far as the lighting packages, camper tops, slide out work trays in the backs of the trucks, I do believe we've got it spec'd pretty thorough. I think we're looking at, 20-year vehicles, basically. We don't pile a lot of miles on them. So if the maintenance is completed properly like it should be, I think, them being aluminum bodies, I think we're looking at longevity there on a Ford truck. Basically, if there's any questions from the board that you would have, maybe Terry would be better to answer them than I, because he knows all the little code numbers and all the little things that go on there. We have discussed them in depth, but Terry, you want to take it away with them?
Sure can. Would like to thank the board and obviously Chief Hansen for standing here today. I never fathomed that I'd ever be standing for a board again. So it's a pleasure, but I'm here to answer any questions. I know Mr. Lappin had a real good question. I thought it was an excellent question with regards to equipping these vehicles. And the answer that we have on this is that these are police package vehicles through the state bid. But obviously, as you know, a police package, they're going to offer red and blue lights on it. Obviously, being the fire department, you can't have blue lights on an emergency response vehicle for a fire department. Some states can, but Michigan, you can't. The other option that they had that Ford provided is a white or amber, and that wasn't good enough either. So the vehicles would come fully wired as a police package, but we're going to have to go through an outside source to fully equip them the way Chief Hansen wants, that for his needs to service the taxpayers of Charter Township of Alpena.
I just have a question. So this bid is for the township to purchase 2, correct?
That is correct.
And then with the purchase of the vehicles and then all the extra Alpena diesel, Larry's truck stuff and all of that, bottom line for 2 is the price 104.
That's correct.
$104,020. Okay.
Yes.
So the last paragraph says an estimate 1,000 for the radios. Is that in addition to the 104,000?
No, that's included.
Okay, that's included.
Okay.
And that's, I know Mr. Wilk a little bit, and that's probably the lowest price you can get for installs of equipment. The only question I had on that, Terry, was are the consoles that our radios are in, are they transferable to these vehicles, or is there going to be new consoles, and is that?
Yeah, everything will be new. Everything will be new except for the radios you're putting in.
So the consoles are
All new.
set for that'll hold those radios.
Right, so we tell them what type of radios we have. They order the proper faceplate to go in the console, so that radio will mount in there.
Plug and
And,
play.
Plug and play, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we don't have computer hookups in these kinds of vehicles.
No.
We don't need that. Police report.
Mr. Lappin?
2 questions. The fiberglass commercial topper, carpeted headliner. Why do we need a carpeted headliner?
Evidently, that's just the way it comes, because it'll be an LED light.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just wasn't sure if that was like, so you don't bump your head.
That might be.
Probably so you don't rub out any more
That's what
follicles
people like
when you're
you and me,
unloading
but-
something.
Yeah, I believe providing all their wiring and stuff that's gonna go for the lighting.
I just
believe.
jumped out at me. And then the
Little
second,
insulation too for noise and so forth.
okay, the other one was, I don't see on here, unless I just missed it, where we where Harbor Freight, or excuse me, Harborside Tint, I guess, would put our township name.
So that, yeah, that's part of his bid. I specifically talked to the owner and we wanted obviously a 6-inch stripe, white reflective that will go along the curvature of the vehicle. So we'll probably start low and we'll curve up on the back fender. And then on the back fender, you can put the Trevor Township Alpena, fire chief, command vehicle, whatever you guys want, or whatever the chief wants, we can do that.
Included in that?
It will be included in there. So
What about if we had on the door?
The door shield. It'll
Yes.
have a door shield
as well.
with the proper Charter Township logo.
Okay, yeah, because it really wasn't. Didn't really say
That is usually something you guys probably provide though, right?
Right.
Your seal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just like the sheriff's office or police department, you provide your own, door decal per se from that entity, so.
Do we have door decals or is that just, is that something that goes into a software
So
program?
We have a vendor that we currently use at $25 a decal for that.
All right, so it's a minor
It's a
cost.
minor
Okay,
cost.
all
It'd be
right.
$100 for both vehicles.
Okay,
Just
all
for
right,
that.
all right.
Yes, Commissioner.
My question is like, if we approve this and order it today, how long will it take for the vehicle?
6.5 years.
Yeah.
I knew that question was gonna come up, and obviously that is the issue that we're having in today's economy.
Mhm.
And when we, as a salesperson now working with Dean Arbor, when a person comes in to order a vehicle, we tell them it's a minimum of 4 months. But don't hold me back. We have vehicles that we've ordered for people. I had one here just last week that 2 months to the day, it was here and I'm like, wow. But we've also had others that are going on 5, going on 6 months. It depends on the trim level of the vehicle. But what's nice about Ford is that they know that these are a command vehicle used for emergency response, and they'll usually have a little bit more of a priority with that. So, but it's still gonna be a good 4 months. So it's gonna be spring easily.
Yes, trustee Paul.
Where does Dean Arbor put their name on this truck?
There's a little sticker on the back of the tailgate, but it may be covered up because of the chevrons.
Look at the back. Going inside the glove box.
Underneath the headlining in the top.
But it's there.
It's there.
there.
That's the important part.
So I guess I would point out to the board that, with the fire committee, Mr. King here, that we've done a lot of research into this and put quite a bit of time to hope everything is proper. I don't see any unforeseen things. That's the benefit of going with the police package. And Mr. King has, got the side vendors that do this stuff for their own specialty. So I don't think we're gonna have too much of an issue there. And I think everything is pretty much thought through with his previous experience in law enforcement and, just us being able to sit down at the table. I think we've got a solid unit.
Yes, trustee Reiner.
Just one other question, and forgive my aged memory here if I missed this or forgotten it, but we authorized the sale of the one ambulance. Is it gone through and be received? And-
Yes, we have the 130,000.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to follow the recommendation of chief to move forward with procuring 2 Ford F-150s emergency vehicles for the cost of $104,020.
Make the motion.
Support.
Motion and support on the table. Further discussion?
I wonder if we should amend that motion to put in a slight contingency for that.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed $250 or something like that. That way we can cover the cost of those.
What if it not to exceed 105?
Fine by
That
me.
way.
Yeah,
we
the
have something.
$25.
Would you, to the motion maker, would you be willing
I
to
will.
make a friendly motion to not to exceed? 105?
$105,000. Okay.
Okay, we have a friendly amendment to the motion and to the supporter. You're agreeable?
And we'll
Yes.
pay it out of the equipment millage purchases.
Yep, 205-336-976-000.
Yes.
What was it? 205.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very
Thanks,
much
Jim.
for your time, Mr. King. Roll call vote if there's no other discussion. Roll call.
Trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Lappin,
Yes.
clerk Palovich. Yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward, thank you for staying there, Chief.
Thank you for your support.
I believe we have another recommendation from you, sir.
Yeah, that's the fan, positive pressure fan. I don't have
Nope.
my list.
No.
Paid on call
Oh,
rehire.
I'm sorry. Paid on call. I didn't bring the sheet up. We have a returning paid on call potential. Jacob Ordway. I received his application. Very happy about that. He's been a firefighter here full time for the township and he's willing to come back. And I'd like to recommend his reappointment.
We
He's
have a
retired.
recommendation on
And
the
I did
table.
send the resume out to everybody. I'll make the motion.
I'll support.
We have a motion and support on the table. Is there discussion?
Something to say?
Got any
No.
discussion?
Very
We're addressing business.
It was a police matter.
Okay, so we have a motion and support to move forward with the recommendation of rehiring of Jacob Ordway to the paid on call staff. Any further discussion or questions for the chief in regards to this matter? Mr. Ordway was an asset when he was here and we look forward to having him back because he
Absolutely.
was.
Yes, definitely. He was
An
greatly
asset.
missed. When-
Roll call the vote, please.
Trustee Lappin,
Yes.
clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Absolutely.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward to the SOPs and SOGs, chief.
All right. Supervisor Skibby had asked me to proceed with looking at forming new policies and procedures and standard operating guidelines. First day on the job, I met with Mike Gombos, the insurance risk officer, basically for the area. He gave me a dole of different plans that we could look at. But Michigan Township has a basic set of plans that they have for fire departments to adopt. That's basically what I've used to introduce a set of policies and procedures for the fire department. It's a living, working document, I'd like to point out. I sent those out to all the board members, and I believe they were sent out again in the board package. But so we have an index here. I'm just trying to explain it real quick of all the different policies. And, just keeping in mind, some of these are going to need to be adopted, changed at a later date, but I wanted to get a start on that. So if you've had a chance, or if you have any questions on it, we can certainly go by index and try to address something if the board has a concern. But at this time, I'd like to, present to you, and it'll take a signature from our human resources officer to complete this. Board would have to vote on, of course, to accept these policies and procedures, to have better clarity so employees can know what to expect, and we can know how to advise them based on our current policies. And I basically took these from Michigan Township participating plan guidelines. So they've been tried and true so far.
I guess I'd entertain a motion to move forward with the recommendation of the SOPs and SOGs as presented.
I'll make that motion, and I will also maybe add to that motion that an effort be made as often as possible to review various sections of those SOGs with staff so that everyone is on board with that.
Absolutely. And I think that would be very appropriate for the fire committee to review them on occasion as well.
We have a motion on the table. Is there support?
I'll support it.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? Yes, Laura.
I think instead of saying, Steve, instead of saying as often as possible, I think it's better to put a timeline in there.
Well, I don't know how often they meet. You meet monthly?
No, I don't mean to, I just mean do it annually, do it
At the very least, they
quarterly.
should probably be reviewed once a year.
Because otherwise,
guessing.
it's like years can go by and it's never done.
Right. And there will be just, if I may, there's going to be additions that'll come up at further board meetings that I'll ask to insert this particular policy or guideline. It'll get assigned a number. It'll go in a folder. There'll be a folder in my office, in the clerk's office, and in each station for staff.
Right. Is Steve open to that?
Well, let me, maybe I could make this in two motions. I'll make the first motion to approve the SOGs.
And we had support on that motion.
Right.
So if you're looking for a second potential, roll call on that.
Okay, so. there's
This
no-
is just one
We are
motion right
just-
now.
Just approving.
that.
To approve.
Yeah.
As presented.
Yeah.
Okay. Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. And now trustee Lappin, a potential second.
All right. One of the things, just as a comment, one of the things that I'm afraid of with manuals is that they are great for holding down countertops and a place to find dust. And if that's all we've done is just checked it off the list, then we haven't done our due diligence. And so I think it would be prudent for you and your staff at whatever times you have meetings as part of the agenda to have a section of that SOG discussed so that it is in fact a true document, true living document. So I don't know that I would make that in a motion per se, but I would certainly highly recommend that document just not be stuck on a shelf.
Right. I guess I'll address that real quick. My plans are is that I'll probably cover this in 2 different staff meetings because it's a lot of dry reading, but it'll be something that each employee will have a spot to sign that they've received a copy or have it available to them. And so they'll sign an agreement to say that they've been advised of the policies, and we will train them as to that. And a couple different staff meetings is what I'm guessing that'll take.
That's fine. And I would also suggest that instead of just somebody putting their initials on there, that they have homework and that at the next fire department meeting, you will be discussing section such and such of whatever manual so that it forces someone to
Sure.
continue to read that.
And maybe with our fire committee meeting, we could probably come up with a plan at that to lay a set of pavement down for me of how you'd like to handle that.
I agree. So I'm not going to make that as a motion. I'm
No,
just gonna make that
I
as
would
a
say
discussion.
let's revert that back to the fire committee
Fair enough.
in assistance with the chief. So, thank you. Moving forward, so we have approved that. Next is the quote for the positive pressure ventilation fan.
All right, at a structure fire up on Maple Grove Road, we had delamination of one of our, I don't know, it's probably a 20 or 30-year-old positive pressure ventilation fan. And I thought, well, maybe we could just replace that fan. After I started getting prices, I says, maybe we can just fix the current fan. Like Supervisor Skibby and I discussed, that it is a Honda motor on the thing. It's probably going to last a long time. Let's reinvest in putting the new fan blades and the new mechanical parts to put that back together. There's 2 proposals there. One from 5 Alarm Fire came in the lowest. I don't have it right in front of me, $649, I think, in some cents. But it's my recommendation that we purchase that replacement fan blade parts and hardware so we can utilize that and put it back on our truck. So it's in service for needed fire.
I'd entertain a motion to follow the recommendation of the chief for the 5 alarm replacement of the fan at $649.99 to come out of GL 205-336-974-000. Yes, Michelle.
Do we want to make the motion to include shipping?
I was just gonna-
Oh, that's not in it.
No,
I was gonna say the same
we
thing.
don't know what shipping is.
Okay.
That always makes
So-
me nervous.
So
Right,
to that, the initial cost plus shipping, just leave it as generic as that.
That would be
Is
great.
The uniform is $651.19. Is there no shipping cost with that one?
No,
No,
they
they
don't
don't
have
have
shipping
it. It says not
included.
included.
Oh,
They're both going to charge in addition. When I asked both
Okay.
companies, they said they don't know until they
Calculated out.
put it on the scale and send it out. So,
So we could entertain the motion to move forward with the recommendation of $649.99 plus shipping costs to come out of GL 205-336-974-000. Is there a motion to that
I'll
effect?
make that motion.
We have a motion on the table. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? Yes, Laura.
Is this, I'm just curious, does this go in the fire truck
Right. Yep.
Okay,
And we use
I
that
just
for ventilation on a structure fire.
okay.
You know, you
So
put it at the
it's
front or
the
back
engine.
door, try to ventilate the structure.
Okay, thank you.
I guess just out of curiosity, how much would the whole unit be?
About 3,500.
See, I guess when I didn't realize that when I was looking at this, that this is just to fix it.
This is a fan.
Yeah.
Right. So if you can imagine an airplane prop, it's the same consistency as an airplane prop. It has all the laminated parts. Well, after 25, 30 years, ours is starting to delaminate.
All right, so technology hasn't caught up to the fan business yet.
Oh, no, it has, but
Actually, I introduced some very cost-effective technology that Air Puerto Rico uses, which is called duct tape. But-
there are other technologies out there, Mr. Lappin, but they far exceed
Yeah.
what I just told you for the price of this fan.
Wow.
They're
Is this on the green one then?
the green one.
What green truck?
This is on,
No, it's on engine one right now.
Our new engine?
Yeah.
so this is not a part of the.
Yeah,
engine.
this is
I
just-
want
No,
this,
no.
this is a standalone
Piece of
Honda
equipment.
engine with a
Okay,
fan and
gotcha.
shroud.
the equipment should put on.
Yeah.
Right.
Should have taken a field trip.
Yeah.
What's happened?
Okay, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
if I
Summers,
have.
this- This piece of equipment's been transferred from one truck to another truck, and every time there's a different truck, it just kind of has been going to the next truck instead of us
Gotcha.
purchasing a new one to save cost. Eventually, we're going to be faced with having to, but I'm hoping we can still get another 10, 15 years out of this fan based on, the rebuild. So the cheaper way to go right now, based on our budget situation.
Frugal. We don't look cheap,
Well, there you
we're
go.
frugal.
Yes.
So who-
Clarification.
I feel a
Once-
grant in the future
once
coming
we
up.
get these parts, who puts it? I mean, do you guys just put it together yourself?
Right. Yeah,
Oh,
we
okay.
can assemble that. That's not a
Okay.
problem.
So we have a motion and support on the table that includes the shipping. Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward to the last item of
Okay.
Oxygen gas meter.
So I guess I'll start out with an example real quick. We had a structure or a fire the other night, a call for a fire in the raging snowstorm. It was for a gas leak, a potential gas leak in a house. And rather than my engine being able to take care of it from this side of town, we had to have Southside engine come all the way over in a blazing snowstorm to run a O2 monitor. So I'm proposing that instead of having to go through that inconvenience and different things that we've needed several times, I would like to get this MSA Altair 4X our gas detector that'll basically cover all different kinds of gas leaks in a residence or wherever we may be, commercial building. And then it would be located on engine one. Engine two currently has one. I know our water department uses them on various different things, and Mr. Skibby could probably clarify what they use them for, but it's just a part of a tool that'll help us be a little bit more efficient.
So do you have a recommendation out of the bids? Because there was another bid that was submitted into the packet. I don't know if everybody has it in their packet.
Right. I initially had gotten two bids. And Supervisor Skibby told me about the My Train purchase opportunity through Airgas, which I was unaware of. But it basically come in $115 or so cheaper than the lowest bid that I had received. So I'm recommending that we purchase the MX4 monitor from Airgas of Alpena, which is a local company.
We have a recommendation of the chief to move forward with the procurement of the MSA Altair 4XR gas detector from Airgas to the cost of $710 to come out of GL 205-336-974-000. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion and support. Further discussion. Yeah, these are used for confined spaces. These are a must for anybody that's not already in their SCBA. So, seeing no other discussion, roll call, please.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving to. All right, are you all set, chief?
I would like to thank the board for their support.
You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Laura, your addition to the agenda, since there's no
Oh.
documentation?
Well, there's no documentation because it just kind of came up, but, when the board approves something, I just think, to have board action to state that, any documents, leases, agreements, contracts should be signed by the supervisor and the clerk. Just because it keeps everyone informed of what's going on. We keep more records organized. The clerk is in charge of the records. It improves communication. I mean, I just had an issue in my office because I got a check and I didn't know what it was for. And then it took weeks to finally figure out that an amendment to an agreement took place. If I would have known that ahead of time, and if it would have came to a board, I would have been more informed of that when I got that check, I wouldn't have been waiting to see where I could process it in.
And just to add to that, you asked me about it. I had not been made aware of the agreement that happened in September. I didn't get a copy of it till December. So as keeping the records, I can't keep the records if I don't know they exist.
Yes.
At least if
Why are
everything
we
comes-
making agreements without board action?
So it was an amendment. In this instance, so there's several different things, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I dropped the ball and didn't forward an amendment that was through T-Mobile on the M32 Petasphere. And that was what they were looking at. And actually, we could have not even done an amendment, but I tried to leverage a higher return. So I followed the suit of trying to leverage a higher rate of return on that monthly. Tim went through all the documents with Kevin Hoyt through T-Mobile, which is on their legal side. And long and short, we got an additional $150 a month to allow them to basically update things that they already had on our tower. So we just clarified that with an amendment. But yes, following that, I did not submit it in a timely fashion to Michelle.
Well, and there wasn't any communication. If it would have came to the board I would have been aware of it. When I got this check, I would have known what it was for.
But in the same time, the request that in the addition to the agenda, I don't really care one way or another if that wouldn't have solved this issue.
Well, it would have.
No, actually, it still wouldn't.
Well, it would have came to the
So-
board that there
Why
was.
wouldn't an amendment to a contract come to the board?
I guess then that would be my fault. I looked at it because we didn't even have to do an amendment. I looked at it as the guise of if I can leverage a higher rate of return.
Which is
Right,
wonderful.
And I
Right.
could definitely bring it to the board,
Right.
so we can all go kudos to you.
Right,
Don't
And then-
need- don't need any
Put the
kudos.
feather in your hat that you're gaining more money for the township.
right.
So I think it makes sense, but let me understand on any and all agreements, is that how I'm understanding that?
I'm sorry.
So this was an isolated situation. So moving forward, if we enter into a snow plowing agreement, would there be two signatures?
Right.
So any
Any agreements,
Any
any
agreement
contracts,
moving forward.
any leases, anything.
It is not a legal precedent. It is just a
and
recommendation
just-
following
I just,
protocol of the county, because that's always by MTA standards.
I'm
There
not
is
bringing
no-
up The county. I would-
The county always says two signatures.
I'm
County
just-
does.
So to MDA standard, and I'm not opposed to either which way we go, but at what point in time by their own definition of chief financial officer, legal agent, chief administrative officer, it's like, I don't care if a second person signs.
so
but
the only thing I
where
guess
do we
I would
stop?
ask is just from a precedent standpoint, just from an understanding standpoint, Tim, is there any reason why we wouldn't want to do this?
I'm not aware of any reason to not do it. I think typically a contracting party will put the clerk and the supervisor on there as the authorized signers.
So I'm fine with, yes, trustee Reiner.
My understanding of why that's done, Kim, you can correct me if you think I'm all wet on this, but my belief is that the clerk of an organization, or the secretary, if you will,
clerk.
typically is non-discretionary authority, but except for this, to certify basically by her signature in this case, that the authorization from the board goes to the supervisor to sign something, but the clerk is basically certifying that that was board approved action. So almost everyone wants those two signatures on any document that they get in contract.
It seems reasonable to me
Municipal
for a
body.
variety of other reasons too. I mean, you could have any misfeasance or anything like that,
So-
so we can avoid those sorts of
Yeah,
things.
and with that said, I would love to
Yep.
entertain a motion to move forward.
Are
with
you
that.
making a motion?
Let's get her done.
No, because I would
So-
like to actually have a few minutes
you made
before.
the
I will
our
make the
next-
motion.
So moved.
We have a
Oh,
motion.
Laura made the motion.
Support.
Supported.
Okay.
Okay,
So
And
two
just for
signatures.
clarification, and this is good,
Okay,
but Michelle is the clerk, not the secretary of the township. There's a difference.
Bonnie Fredericks is not is the clerk, separately elected as well by the county, but she's also the secretary of the board.
I'm just talking about the township.
so anyways, let's get back on track and get done with this meeting. We have a motion on the table to move forward with legal contracts and agreements to have both of the supervisors and clerk signature. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Wonderful. As you see, everybody, are there any questions for any department heads and their reports? Otherwise, we can just move forward
I
to,
have a quick question. This will be the third month in a row that I have not seen anything from building or assessing. Is there a reason why we're not getting any department reports from them?
no, there again. We just talked about it 2 weeks ago. And so I've unfortunately kind of focused on the more important tasks. And so for the next
But it's
Tuesday
3
meeting.
months. I mean, it couldn't come up in 3 months.
I
Did they not know
addressed,
that we-
actually, it was 2 months with the assessing, 3 months on the building to be exact.
And
I
we
can
don't
have
have
them,
trustee
presented.
reports either.
and sometimes I think we should all give, I by all means, I'm in agreement that there needs to be, and there's a slight deficiency in that report. At the same time, I have been focused, I think you understand where my energies have been focused. And so I'll take that on the chin for the board and the department heads as well. I will have our subcontractor, Kevin Pauley, present at the next subsequent department head report. In terms of assessing, a lot of things in assessing won't be complete until the Department of Treasury makes determinations that I think come out January 16th for state funding, but that doesn't mean that there aren't other things that they
I
can
was there, they're doing something every
Present.
month.
Yes, Laura.
I would just like to, assessing, I think there's a lot of things they could report on. What is the goal of site visits per year? What percentage are we at on commercial site visits or residential site visits? There's information we could absolutely get from assessing as well as building and I'd like a report for building to compare what we do last year and where are we at this year,
Like we
as
got
far
from the
as
fire
permits.
department.
Okay.
right?
Noted. Is there any other discussion or questions of any other department head report?
I just want to point out regarding the water report that we budget with F and B 250,000. We are already at 106,000, and that does not include digs for September, October, November yet. Just to make sure everyone's aware.
I did have a question on one of the reports.
Yes, trustee Reiner.
On the clerk's report for November. There was something about an IRS correspondence. Is that the one that we did look at in a past
That
meeting?
we're still working on that one, yes.
Okay.
It's.
So
this-
there's no resolution to that.
This resolution could take months. We're dealing with the IRS.
I understand that. I just wondered if there was. Okay.
No, I will keep you updated on any developments on that.
Okay, any other questions about department reports? If not, this is the second opportunity for public comment. If there's any public comment, please state your name for the record.
I am back. Terry King, Alpena Township resident, taxpayer. I know I had the opportunity to talk to a couple of you on a side note personally, but you probably don't hear it enough. And I would like, as a taxpayer of the township, one of many, I would like to thank each and every one of you, looking at you directly for the job that you're doing. You're doing a tremendous job. I know it's not easy. It's not easy at all. I know that. But your administration, this board is leaps and bounds better than what it was before. And I thank you. I personally thank you. Like I said, you probably don't hear enough. There's a lot of complaints, a lot of arguments. Something's not going the way people want it, but thank you for doing what you're doing. And I personally want to thank you and have a good day.
Thank you.
As well, sir.
Feel free to take out a billboard.
Could you please, would you please give Tim a compliment? We've gone over 1 hour, so I'm trying to get the pro bono thing.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you very much. Is there any public comment online? If so, please use the taskbar on the bottom to raise your hand or text. If not, is there any discussion for the good of the order?
No.
Oh, yeah, sorry, trustee Polly.
Next Monday, the 20th, the city is having a discussion on whether to discontinue fluoridation for the water that we receive in our township and their water. And I would highly suggest, if you have comments pro, against, whatever, that you would be there and state your mission.
Yes.
That's a good point. I was gonna ask if we could have some input from our water people.
She actually had we tried to get to her, but she had a 12 o'clock appointment. She would be more than willing to have, I'm sure we could probably align a synopsis from her point of view as operator in charge of our system and directly email to the board for maybe some context and discussion points.
Before Monday.
Yeah. Ms.
Would,
Laura.
would we want to suggest or ask her if she would attend that meeting? Even if it's Zoom?
I would think that we could probably cover it with the preemptive Q&A, because I already sent it to her and asked
Oh,
her
okay.
to send it to the
I
board. Yeah.
I read that.
Yeah, I implore us all to attend.
What time
Actually.
is it?
It's what, Monday, 7
Well,
o'clock? I
their
wanna say it
regular board
was.
meeting, it's the 20th.
Probably we should agree on who would be our designated spokesperson, Mr. Skibby, as probably would be you, for any comments that you would like to.
Well, let me
In a
just check
unified
my
way
availability
suggest.
for-
Are there meetings at 7 PM?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, has our board taken a stance on it or whether we're for or against
Well, I was
it?
just gonna ask.
I was gonna say, so I don't know how we can have a
Yeah.
spokesperson if we don't know
I
how
mean,
everybody feels.
well, then let's have that discussion. Fluoride is actually in concentrations lethal. It's an archaic use that his only strong suit has been the affiliation with bone density and teeth. Now, that's wonderful. That was introduced, I don't know exactly in the timelines that municipal water systems started using.
I think it's 1950.
50s is usually when it happened, because that's when doctors couldn't smoke in their own offices. It's an archaic use. Yeah, well, hey.
So it's like
of course,
iodized
everybody gets
salt,
their
right? You
blood.
don't want too much iodine.
So it started with the best of intentions, and we know the rest of that saying. And when you look at outside the guise of just tooth health, we don't need, especially with municipal users, I mean, that has a deteriorating effect to infrastructure, one, but it also has a negative environmental impact to watering lawns or any other use rather than consumption.
But we all
So
have
does the
teeth.
chlorination, but
It's also,
But we all have good teeth.
but it's also my understanding that there are many other ways that we get fluoride in our.
Toothpaste, done.
In many other ways.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
And so it does seem like, and it seems to me as I think I read that Suez is not in favor of continuing with the fluoride.
And that's been a national,
Yeah,
this is a
trend.
national scope debate of, do
going on for
do we
years.
continue to include fluoride? Because the cons have dramatically outweighed the pros. And
but
it's
don't we have the same problem with chlorination
well,
in terms of infrastructure and in terms of
yes and no.
ingestion?
Yep, you have a half-life with the chlorination levels. So any stagnation in the line, you have a very short time of chlorination. So chlorination levels in infrastructure that don't have a lot of use or draw have that potential for stagnation, which can lead to potential
Bacteria.
blooms, et cetera, et cetera. It's always been my position of if you need fluoride for teeth, then you buy toothpaste with fluoride. Because that's its only, truly one of its only positive health impacts. It's my position personally that I'm in support of removing fluoride from the infrastructure.
Is it expensive? I mean,
Yeah.
would it
Yes.
save, would it save
So
us?
what-
Would it end up bottom
Well,
line?
that's a
save us?
conversation.
Anybody read this?
Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
It tells you.
I just didn't know if it would end up.
I don't think it's
Yeah.
gonna like trickle down.
Yeah. I love your thought process of trickle down economics. It just didn't, it got tripped up by the hanging
Nice.
chad. I will attend. I have that flexibility Monday, but I would implore any other trustee, if available.
I have a dentist appointment, so I.
Yeah.
won't-
You have the
At 7 o'clock?
information.
How about I save you a seat right next to me, Treasurer Ellery Summers? That way we can have two people. No, so I don't think it's a stance that they are the producers of the water.
I'm good with stuff.
There's a lot of better things that can be used for,
You
so.
can cancel that denture appointment.
What are you talking about? So anyways, if there's no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
We have a motion and support to adjourn.
Who made the support of it?
Who
Me
made
and
it?
him.
Yeah, Foley on the support. Us.
Motion by Lappin, support by Foley.
Foley to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. Meeting adjourned at 12:20.